Hi, Aries. Welcome to your April 2019 forecast with me, Monica Love. I just want to wish you a happy birthday. If your birthday is in April, I'm assuming that your birthday is in April because you are watching this, or if you had a birthday in late March as well too. Now, if you're not a Sun Aries, but you're a rising Aries, or you're a Moon Aries, or a Venus Aries, or a Jupiter Aries as well, welcome and happy birthday for those other planets that you have in your chart. So this is a very big month for the sign of Aries, and the reason why it's a big month for the sign of Aries is because Aries is really, moving into their own. They're really moving into their own for the month of April because April does represent the Ram, okay? Now, there was a full moon in Libra just a couple of, I think a week or two ago, 2 weeks, something like that. And there's going to be another full moon in your opposite sign. So to me, what that signals is that there's a lot of changes happening in relationships for a lot of Aries, particularly relationships that have to do with maybe marriage or business associations or partnerships as well too. Okay, so with that being said, I mentioned this before with the new moon happening in your sign. For other signs, there is going to be a new moon for Aries, okay, happening on April 5th. Okay, on April 5th. So with this new moon that's happening for a lot of you Aries, it is a challenging new moon, but it's not something that can't be overcome with your energy, okay? Now, we're moving into spring. Things are starting new and fresh for a lot of you. A lot of you are maybe traveling for your birthday. This is not going to resonate with everybody, but some of you may be traveling. I sense that. But coming out of this Mercury retrograde that we had in March, it was a big thing for Aries because a lot of you, I feel like, had this moment and had this time where there was a lot of internal searching going on. A lot of you were thinking about the past. A lot of you were thinking about, how you can make changes and do things differently, because this Mercury retrograde was happening in your 12th house. So if you are a rising Aries, this is definitely going to resonate with you. If you're not a rising Aries, I highly suggest you click on the other videos that I have posted for the April forecast, and find your rising sign, because that's how I do a lot of my readings, through the rising sign. Now, before I get into any more of this discussion, because I'm going to be discussing a little bit about what happened in March, because I want to prepare you for April, because April is a fresh month for the sign of Aries. But before I do that, I just want to mention, if you are tuning in for the first time or perhaps the second time, you will know that I do oracle cards at the end of my reading. And the oracle cards, these ones in particular, are Archangel Michael oracle deck cards. And what I do at the end of the reading is I take one card for each week in the month of April. So that's 4 cards, 1 card for each week. And it represents the energies that you're going to experience each week in the month of April, okay? Then I pull a 5th card out, so 5 cards in total, and the 5th card represents the overall energy that you're going to be expecting. And these cards are great because they really give you insight into what to expect. Even if you don't want me to just read off what's going to happen, you can always ask a question and see what resonates with you. But either way, these cards are great because they're going to be able to give you some sort of insight into what to expect for the month of April. So it's important that you watch this video till the end so that you can get all the information pertaining to the month of April through these cards, okay? So I'm going to go back to what I was mentioning about the Mercury retrograde happening in your 12th house. So Mercury retrograde was happening in your 12th house. So a lot of you were thinking, okay, about something that happened maybe in the past, or about something that was affecting you in the past. Some of you may have been working on your spirituality, working on maybe cleansing your body, maybe repairing your body. Some of you may had may have had issues with, in the hospital, or maybe you had a friend that was in a hospital, or maybe you had, some issues with, some institutions. These are all things that have to do with the 12th house. And the 12th house is really something that we can't control. It's something outside of ourselves that we can't control. And when Mercury is there retrograding, is really asking us to think about the things that we may have experienced in the past, or some of the things that we could have done better in the past. So that could have been something that you were experiencing. But the month of April is really I call it the slingshot month. And the slingshot month means that you're pushing to new heights and you're learning from your past mistakes, okay? Because the sun is going to shine on you, Aries, because the sun is associated with the sign of Leo. And the sign of Leo is very compatible with Aries. It's a very compatible sign for Aries because the sign of Aries and Leo are fire signs, okay? So whenever the sun is entering into a fire sign like it is with yours, which happened in March, things are really going to lighten up for you. You may find yourself more busy in the month of April, and you may find yourself just really focusing on the things that you can do, not the things that you can't do, not the things that you weren't able to do, but the things that you can do. And you will feel that way all throughout the month of April. Now, in March, and I keep going back to March because March, like I said, was a kind of lay low, relaxing kind of month, whereas April is more of a slingshot, spring forward month for Aries. Now, we had Mars moving into the sign of Gemini. And Mars is your ruling planet, Aries. So whatever Mars is doing in the solar system, in the heavens, is going to represent you. So a lot of you may have been going through communications with other people. Maybe you're communicating with somebody who's really important, who is helping you get to the next level in your life, okay? And a lot of you may be, just overall communicating more, communicating more because Mars is in your third house in Gemini, okay? So for you, the first house rules Aries, the second house Taurus, and the third house Gemini, okay? So Gemini is a huge, communications can be about commitments, communications about, siblings. Maybe you're talking to your siblings. It could be even neighbors. Some neighbors might be, you might be communicating more with neighbors. But either way, there is some communication going on, and there's a lot of it going on for Aries, a lot. And this communication is really important because it's going to be aspecting, the new moon that's happening in your sign, okay? It's going to be aspecting all of these other planets that, you're experiencing, right? So just keep that in mind. Communication is going to be a big thing for you. Now, on April 10th, we have Jupiter going retrograde. Now, Jupiter is a great sign, planet right now for Aries because it's in the sign of Sagittarius. So it's really been aspecting either your rising sign or your sun sign or your moon sign or whatever sign you have in Aries has really been helping you in giving you the luck and giving you the ability to really push forward and benefit from this. So it's important that whatever luck you had before is now going to become internalized. So, and this is general for everybody. It's not going to just be for Aries. I mean, it's generalized, right? This is a generalized reading. Not everybody, it's not going to resonate with everybody, but take what you can from this, okay? Especially for Jupiter, because Jupiter is in the sign of Sagittarius now, and it is going to go retrograde. And as a result, when it does go retrograde, we're really going to be experiencing internally the benefits inside of us rather than outside of us, okay? And Aries is a great sign to know that because Aries is more focused on the self. You guys are focused on like me. Who am I as a person? Like, what can I do to benefit? What can, so once this Jupiter goes retrograde on the 10th, a lot of you are going to be inside of yourself and asking yourself these kind of questions. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, Like I said, communication's a big thing for Aries, okay? And it's going to be especially big for you the around the mid-month of April. The 17th is when Mercury enters your sign. So not only do you have Mars, your ruler, in Gemini, which is the planet of communication, the planet of hands, the planet of creating things with your hands, communication, the twins. You're going to also have Mercury, Gemini's ruler, in your sign. So this to me means that a lot of you are going to be communicating, depending on where this is falling in your chart. There's going to be a lot of communication, and there's going to be a need for communication. I know sometimes Aries doesn't want to communicate. I know sometimes they just want to be left alone. They don't want to be bothered, because Aries is a very individualistic sign. It's a sign that just goes off on its own. It likes to do its own thing. At times it doesn't want to be bothered, okay? But the communication that I sense for a lot of you is going to be important, and you're going to need to be communicating with these other people. Some of you might not want to, some of you might not mind, but these people, whoever they are definitely going to help you get to the next level in what you need to do, okay? Now, 2 days later, you have the full moon happening in Libra. So we had 2 full moons in Libra, and what this signals to me for basically every sign, it's not just Aries, but it's geared to you guys, because Libra is your opposite sign. It's the opposite sign in your chart. And this has to do with a lot of partnerships. This has to do with marriage. This has to do with relationships. There's definitely a shift going on for a lot of Aries right now with partnerships and with people that may be in your life. Now, if you're single and you don't have anybody in your life, that's different. But if you're married, or perhaps you have a partner, or you're planning on getting married, and it doesn't have to be marriage, it doesn't have to be a partner, it can also be business. Okay, some of you are doing business ventures or dealing with businesses. These things are definitely asking you to focus on them and have some sort of understanding between yourself and the other person, okay? Because right now, Aries is learning a lot about other people and about themselves. What works for you, what works for other people, what works for you, what works for other people. And, sometimes you have to put yourself first. Okay, this is the season, we're in the season when the sun is in Aries. This is the time where people need to focus more on what benefits them. And I know this sounds very narcissistic. It might sound very, self-defeating. But you really have to see what works for you and what benefits you as well. And also make sure you're doing the same for the other people in your life. So if you've really been focusing a lot on yourself, you're going to want to be able to focus on others as well too, and not deny them that. Whatever it may be, marriage, business, partnership, whatever it may be for you. Okay. So with Aries, you also have a lot of changes, I find, with your chart, because Capricorn rules your 10th house for Aries. And with Capricorn, there's big developments going on with that sign, and it's affecting your career sector. So some of you may be changing careers, or maybe you are confused about your career, or confused about what's your status in life, where are you going, what are you doing. And the reason why that is because it's testing you. It's testing Aries, okay? So a lot of you may have come out of the limelight. Those of you who maybe you're entertainers, or maybe you feel like, your career is kind of stagnant, or there's like the stability isn't there. Excuse me, I'm like falling over my words. It's not even Mercury retrograde. But a lot of you may have felt like a lot of changes are happening in your career sector, okay? Your career sector challenges as well too, okay? And this is happening for everybody, not just you, for everybody, depending on where it falls in your chart. For you, it falls in the career and status portion of your chart, if you're a rising Aries. If you're not a rising Aries, it's important that you go and watch other videos that pertain to your rising sign, because most astrologers are going to be focusing on your rising sign, okay, Aries? Okay, so going back to what I'm saying now, this month, we're going to be having Saturn and Pluto retrograding. Saturn and Pluto are retrograding, and Saturn and Pluto are retrograding because that is going to be internal energy. That energy is going to be happening internally inside of you. Okay. So you're going to be experiencing this internal energy on, okay, how can I change my career? What do I need to do to change my career? What are the things that I can, you need to spice it up maybe. Maybe you need to do something different. Maybe shock people a little bit and kind of really think about these things, because a lot of you have experienced these challenges with your career. But what's going to happen is in 2020, there's going to be a shift happening. And because Jupiter is retrograding this month in April, it's now telling you to prepare for what it is that you want in the coming months, because the coming months are going to fly by very quickly. It is your birthday month. The seasons are changing, things are changing. And this is the time when you really have to ask yourself what it is that you want in your career. Okay, your career is something that's very important. Some of you may have been on retirement. Some of you may just be in a career right now where you've reached a certain level and you're kind of like, is there anything past this level? Some of you are maybe working at a job that's not working for you anymore, and you feel sort of like a push. You feel like, okay, I need to make a change. I need to do something. But before you do that, there's going to be a shift in April. So you can make those decisions in April, but just keep in mind that it's, sometimes you're not seeing the full picture, especially after Mercury retrograde, because it does take about a week or two after Mercury is retrograde for everything to kind of settle down, for the dust to settle down, for things to settle down. And you don't want to rush and do things quickly without knowing what you're doing. Okay. Also, in the past, you had Uranus leave your sign. So now Uranus is in your second house, which is earned income. Okay. Earned income. And a lot of you may be finding it difficult to make money, or maybe money is coming very quickly for you, depending on where it's aspecting your chart. But there's definitely some components that have to do with, there's a little bit of challenges, or there was challenges with how you made money through your career. Okay. And those challenges are going to change, because after this year, okay, we're going to be moving into 2020, and there's going to be a lot of changes with Jupiter happening in the sign of Capricorn. So that's why it's important that Aries really asks themselves, you ask yourself what it is that you really want out of this career that you're in, or whatever career you built, because a lot of you built a career. A lot of you either built a career or you retired. Maybe you have a certain standing or status in the world, and you're kind of laying low a bit because you feel like, okay, I'm going through a lot of challenges right now. I really got to ask myself what I want and what I want to do. And that's going to be what you're going to be doing, not only in the month of April, but throughout the whole year, because of the retrogrades that are happening in your 10th house. Okay, so just keep that in mind, Aries, that having balance between yourself, having balance between your business, having balance between yourself, having balance between others. Don't consume yourself too much with others and then leave yourself high and dry and not give yourself enough time for yourself. And likewise, don't give yourself too much time and then leave others high and dry. So it's kind of like a balancing act for a lot of Aries, family and business, or relationships and business, or self-care and relationships. It's, a lot to do with self and the other for the month of April. So you may be asking yourself these questions. Now, moving into April 20th, we have the sun moving into the sign of Taurus, which is beautiful for Aries, because that is your money house. So around this time, Aries, it's the time that a lot of you make money. A lot of you really have money coming in like that, and it just flows. Spring is a really lucky time for Aries right after your birthday, where money just flows. Money's coming. There's some sort of revelation after Mercury retrograde, especially with all the downtime that you had, because a lot of you had downtime. A lot of you were just kind of, either sitting at home or thinking. You didn't have to sit at home. It could have been in your mind. A lot of thinking was going on in your mind. What's going to happen, or what happened, all of these things that are kind of playing a role with you, for you. So once the sun enters Taurus on the 20th of April, money is going to be flowing in for you guys, or there's going to be opportunities to make money, or you should be expecting some sort of money that's coming to you, okay, that you've been either waiting for or what have you. But there's definitely some sort of money that's going to be flowing and falling for you. And the beautiful thing is Venus will be entering your sign on the 20th. So there's going to be a lot of developments at the end of the month for Aries. The first 2 weeks you might not feel, you might think, oh, I'm not really experiencing anything. Like I don't feel changes. Like I don't know what's going on. But at the end of the month, the last 2 weeks of the month, there's definitely going to be some changes coming your way. Okay, there's going to be some changes coming your way for sure. And I definitely see that happening for you. Okay, now on the 24th, we have Pluto retrograde. Like I said earlier about that, Pluto is currently in your 10th house. So you have been experiencing changes in your business, your career, I should say, your standing in the world, your status in the world. Like I said, some of you might have retired. Some of you might have reached a point in your career where you're like, okay, I've gotten so high. What do I do next? Okay. Saturn is there as well too. So it's challenging you. It's challenging you to break out of this. You almost feel like you're like in a corner, you've done everything. Now it's time to move to the next level. Some of you may feel like you can't. But the good news is that once these planets go retrograde, you're going to be able to have a new and different perspective. It's going to be more of an internalized perspective on understanding how this energy is working in your career and in your standing in the world, okay? So wait for that. The last 2 weeks of April is going to be very different for a lot of Aries, okay? And you also have the South Node in your 10th house. So there's a lot of karma happening there in your 10th house. There's a lot of lessons to be learned. Make sure you keep your eyes open about the lessons that the universe is trying to teach you in terms of your career and what have you. A lot of review is going to be going on for you as well when it comes to that, okay? Now, like I said, with April happening, April is a beautiful month for Aries because you guys are ruling this month, okay? But what I really want you to focus on the most is I really want you to focus on this battle between relationships and self, because this is a big thing. When you have 2 full moons happening in your 7th house, there's definitely something that's signaling information that you need to learn about, okay? So the relationship aspect is important for you guys and your career. I feel like that's the main thing that you two should be focusing on for the month of April, okay? So asking yourself, what can I do to break free from this, this level of feeling like you've reached the top already? You've done everything you need to do. There's always more for you to do, Aries. There's always more for you to do, okay? And you're going to experience that the first 2 weeks of April, okay? Relationships, career, big developments for you this month for that, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my oracle cards, my archangel oracle cards. I'm going to be shuffling them, and I'm just going to be asking for 4 cards, 1 card for each week in the month of April. And then I'm also going to be picking a 5th card, which is going to resonate with the energies for the month of April. So what are the energies that we can expect for the month of April for the sign of Aries? Sun, moon, and rising. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th week. What can we expect for the sign of Aries? Sun, moon, and rising. All right. So I got 4 cards here, and I'm going to pick an overall card for you for April. The first card that we have, Aries, is detach from the situation, okay? Detach from the situation. Okay, so the first week, it makes complete sense, okay? Because In the first week, Aries, you're going to be having a new moon. You're going to have a new moon on the 5th of April in your sign. And what that means is Aries is the sign of self, okay? It's the first zodiac sign of anybody's chart. It's number one. It's the baby when it's born, okay? And because you're going to be having this full moon, a lot of you might have been consumed by a relationship or consumed by a person or just spending all your time with somebody or just being out there. You really got to give yourself time to detach and give yourself time to think and be alone by yourself. And this is why Archangel Michael is saying detach from the situation, okay? Cut away from the situation and give yourself time to really just think by yourself and detach and love yourself, okay? And there's a prayer. There's a prayer for this card, and it says, Archangel Michael, I ask you to use your flaming sword to cut any attachment to fear or drama so that I may be centered in the knowingness that peace is everywhere within me and this situation. So some of you are going through this situation. It could be career, it could be businesses, it could be relationships. You really have to detach. Okay, give yourself some time to detach. Now, if you've been already detached too much, because I sense some of you, not all of you, I'd say about maybe 2%, only 2% of you, 2 to 5% of you have been overly concentrated on yourself. For those of you that have been doing that, it's time to really detach from yourself and find balance with other people, okay? So some of you, it's either going to be too much time with yourself or too much time with the other person. Too much time with self, too much time with the other person. Which one is it? You got to figure it out. And whichever one is lacking is the one that you need to focus more on, okay? Whatever one you've been focused too much on, you need to detach, okay? If that makes sense, okay? So that's for the first week, Aries, of April 2019. April 2019. Okay, so for the second week, we have be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. A lot of you are going to be going through these changes with the new moon happening in your sign and also coming out of Mercury retrograde. Be gentle with yourself. Don't be hard on yourself, okay? This, especially with your career, because a lot of you may feel like, oh, things are changing, or, you know, I feel like I can't breathe, or, you know, there's this sense of urgency right now because, you know, once Pluto and Saturn go retrograde, everything's kind of like, it kind of goes a little wonky, right? But be gentle with yourself, okay? Be, you know, this person in this photo is just relaxing and just hanging out with their, looks like a lamb. It could be your dog or your cat, or maybe you have something that just, you know, relaxes you. Be gentle with yourself the second week, okay? Don't be too hard on yourself, all right? Give yourself a little bit of a break, all right? Jeez. Okay. My prayer, okay, for you is, Archangel Michael, please guide me in treating myself with gentle, nurturing love in everything I think, speak, and do. Help me know that I deserve this compassion. I release any feelings of guilt to you so that I may experience lasting inner peace, okay? Sounds to me like there's something that you need to really be gentle with about yourself. So, you know, detaching from a situation the first week and then being gentle with yourself based on the detachment that you've done or the changes that you've done, okay, Aries? These are very beautiful cards because they signal transformation. They signal a new you, okay? Okay. Okay, believe and trust for the third week. Believe and trust for the third week. So a lot of you, you know, really have to trust this shift that's happening right now. Like I said, with Saturn and Pluto, there is, you know, a level of feeling pushed to a certain degree. Like you feel like you've been pushed to a certain degree and now you're like, now what? Now what do I do? I've done everything I could do. Like, you know, you might feel there's an urgency to do something on the third week of April. And the reason why we got this card, believe and trust, is because you need to believe and trust that it's going to transform itself. Sometimes situations transform themselves on their own, okay? And if you push too much, you might be pushing something that you don't need to push. So give yourself a break, give yourself the time to really recoup and regenerate everything that's been going on for you, okay? So there's a prayer, and the prayer says, before going to sleep tonight, and this is for the third week of April, say, Archangel Michael, please enter my dreams and replace fear with faith and trust. So some of you are being fearful. You need to have trust. Let me be filled with strength, courage, and confidence for the third week. And that's the full moon. And you know, this makes sense because what the full moon does, it wants you to believe and trust. The full moon is going to push you to do things that you probably wouldn't do when it's not a full moon. And this is scientific based. This is scientific based where, when the full moon is out, the pull on the earth from the moon, because the moon is a satellite on earth. This is a scientific information. There is some level of, pull in us and in the things on earth. Okay. So you have to believe and trust in this beautiful thing that's happening for you. And here's the picture of the card. It's such a beautiful card. It's like a paradise that this angel is in, okay? And the birds are flying. So if you believe and trust, good things are going to follow with this card. Okay, Aries, good things are going to follow. Okay, so the final week, decide to be happy now. A lot of you have been going through some changes, okay? A lot of you had trials, okay? So you're coming from believe and trust to decide to be happy now, okay? Okay, so I think with this card, decide to be happy now, with the sun moving into Taurus, a lot of you guys are going to be coming into some money. A lot of you are going to be getting something that you thought you might have not been able to get, but you'll finally get it at some point. And this is why you need to believe and trust, and then decide to be happy. Okay, decide to be happy. And there's a prayer here. It says, thank you for helping me open my heart to happiness, joy, and bliss. I am now willing to see all the goodness in my life. So there is good things coming for you, Aries, and there are good things, okay? So, be happy about those things. The overall energy for you for the month of April is your inner guidance is real and trustworthy. So like I said, with these planets starting to retrograde, with Jupiter retrograding, with Saturn retrograding, with Pluto retrograding, a lot of this energy is going to be turned inwards for a lot of people instead of outwards. We're going to be really focusing on, what do I need to do within myself to be a better person? What do I need to do within myself to reach the next level? What do I need to do? What do you need to do for yourself so that you can be a better person? Okay, that's what this card is asking, okay? And the prayer says, please help me clearly hear, see, feel, and know the divine guidance that I have asked and prayed for. Allow me to keep my ego out of the way so your wisdom can come streaming through me for my own benefit and for those around me. So you understand, the full moon and the new moon is, again, self and other. What do I need to do within myself to realize what I need to know? Okay, Aries? Thank you for tuning into my video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, this is Monica Love. Please hit the subscribe button below. I do readings every single month. And yeah, it's all about astrology and how you can have self-autonomy. Okay? Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later. Ciao.